Okay, down is forward. Yeah.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shannon Morgan. I'm here from SUNY University at Albany, where I just graduated with a degree in digital forensics. I'll be returning for my master's in cybersecurity, and today I'll be talking about collegiate-level hacking education and the ethics that surround it. So here we come with the research problem. Here's how I propose it. Student A, student B. They're both students, full-time, both pay full tuition. They're cybersecurity majors, and they're in their junior year. So now they've moved on to the technical aspect of their coursework. They're no longer really dealing with theoretical. And so they're working in their database security class on SQL injections and how those attacks are propagated. Now, when student A goes home, they finish the lab, they write their responses, submit it to the professor for grading. Student B goes home, and they try to carry out SQL injection attacks on non-intentionally vulnerable websites. So they're going home, and they're trying to reproduce the lab activities outside the classroom and hack. So that's where the research problem comes in. So in an abbreviated version, you can read my paper, but my hypothesis was that an implementation plan could be recommended that would help students have a more ethical background as they proceed through these cyber majors. So the way that I did my research was through metasynthesis as my methodology. So this type of methodology takes qualitative works from various sources, various backgrounds, and this was conducive to my work that I was doing just because of the time requirement. This was research that was already published, and there was a pretty extensive amount of research, but it just didn't direct my research question. So that's where my question came from. And an important part of metasynthesis is that all the sources that are utilized should have similar qualities and characteristics so that you can amalgamate those to reach a new conclusion. So in my research paper, you'll see there's a whole grid of all the research and the specific characteristics that I outlined for each of those sources. So the results of my research wound up being this 5-step implementation plan recommendation. And I'll go into each of these specific aspects next for my results. So the first is courses in ethics and law. And the first point of this recommendation is that this must be throughout the entirety of a student's education. It shouldn't just be in their freshman year, shouldn't just be in their second year. It should continue up until they graduate. And this is to make sure that they develop this strong foundation of ethics during their collegiate career. Because when student A and student B are coming in, you have no idea what teaching or any idea of ethics that they developed prior to being in your class or your institution. So we need to allow them and give them the resources to make those ethical decisions. And that's where this first recommendation comes in. Secondly is university-wide computer policies. So the first aspect we see here is that there should be a accessible computer use policy that's given to students. So this should clearly outline the expectations of what is allowed and what is not allowed as they're using a university's digital assets. So this should be reviewed during the ethics courses, as they'll most likely be utilizing digital assets owned by the university during their lab or instruction. And this should be the culmination from several departments across campus. So that's IT, legal counsel, dean of students, the department itself, just to make sure that it's getting those unique perspectives from all different stakeholders that would have a stake in this specific policy. Now, directly building on that, the third recommendation is strict documentation and a student conduct process. So the first aspect of this is that policy that I just described is having students in their ethics courses actually sign that document and having the department or the professor hold that during the duration of their course. This way, if there's any possibility that anything goes awry and violates that policy, that it can be referred to that, hey, we reviewed this in class, you reviewed it in your individual time, you signed that you understood what was expected of you, and there has been a violation of that. And so that goes back to future reference. If there is a case that's ever open, that they'll have that the student really did sign that they understood what was expected of them. The second is the conduct process aspect, where, like I said, if there is a violation of what was understood, that they are understanding of the repercussions. Those should be clearly outlined in the computer use policy. If X, then Y. So if you attempt to hack a faculty computer, what could be the possible repercussions that you could face during the conduct process? Making sure that's really, really clear to students will be critical as a deterrent so that they hopefully do not choose to go down that path. And then the third part is the strict enforcement. So we're ensuring that action will actually be taken, that students will not just attempt to hack a computer and that will never go unanswered by the university. It's important that the violations of this policy are being followed up with action from the university. And making sure that students are understanding that if their college record shows that they have an infraction for trying to commit something that goes against the computer policy violation, then that could be really, really influential during their job search. If a future employer sees that they tried to hack a computer, it's probably not going to look great. So making sure that students are also aware of that and that this would go on their record that they would have to send or be clear about to future employers. The next component is involving IT in the design and utilization of lab spaces. And this is broken off into two components. The first is the design of the lab. So having a segmented network so that students are able to work in the labs with the segmented network as to not interfere with the main students, faculty that are using the main network. And then also security protections. So making sure that the lab incorporates the proper admin privileges and other things of that scale so that students are able to carry out the labs inside of that space, but won't have those privileges in, let's say, the library or other systems. And then the second component, utilization. So the department that hosts the cyber major should be communicating with the IT department, that they know possible things to look out for in the network. So if they're sniffing the network in the segmented lab space, if they see any possible suspicious activity outside of the lab space, to look for that, and so that they will have that collaboration and communication to be aware of things that could be going on. And then the last part, which as a student leader on campus, this was really interesting to me, was the strong emphasis on affiliation with peer-led initiatives. And this quote here is really strong. A thorough participation in the community and adherence to community standards develops a hacker's own ethical standings. So what does this mean? If a student goes on the dark web and they join a hacker forum that tells you how to do X, Y, Z, that is going to give you a different ethical standpoint, still an ethical standpoint, but a different one than if the university has a cyber defense organization or something along those lines, where they have a community still on campus that promotes ethical values. So it's important, as it states here, that group affiliation is on both sides. So making sure that the university has these organizations for students to join or experiential learning opportunities to further develop these standards is really important so that students know where to go if they're looking for this. And eventually, as this point states here, that will strengthen their foundational understanding of ethics and hopefully enforce good ethical decisions. Oops. Yeah, so in conclusion, with the increase in cybercrime and therefore the subsequent increase in the availability of cyber majors across campuses, education is crucial in making sure that we are preparing cybersecurity professionals for the workforce. And with this implementation plan for recommendations, it offers buildable integration and hopefully encourages ethical behavior. So thank you so much. I hope I was on time.
Shannon, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.